What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer, here with the two best in the industry at breaking down news and information related to injuries in the NBA. Justin Fan from Underdog Fantasy and Mike Gallagher from Established Run. 10-game slate in front of us, which means we're not getting out of here in under an hour. So, Justin, saddle up. How you doing today?
Doing well. Excited to chop it up with you guys, and just gonna keep it moving because we gotta hit this under hopefully.
Mike, it's been a week for unders. How are you doing?
Yep, we're doing good. Got a little hike in. I go hiking with Sam, who does minutes for us on the first run. So actually talked minutes on the hike. So a little multitasking, a little bit of work, a little bit of hiking, business with pleasure. Always a good morning to talk NBA minutes and hike. We've probably got to be the only two people on the planet who do that. So shout out to Sam.
Yeah, I would say that only person on the planet to do something weak for Mike Gallagher this week. Let's get into the game by game stuff. Let's start with Brooklyn and Washington. On the Brooklyn side of things, Mikal Bridges not listed on the injury report. Nick Claxton probable, Dorian Finney-Smith probable, Lonnie Walker and Ben Simmons out. G Leaguers listed out here. The return of the Brooklyn Nets tonight. Justin, what are your notes?
I mean, with Brooklyn, we've been talking about lineup changes for a while, and we saw Toronto finally make theirs with Gary Trent Jr. in for Dennis Schroeder. And the question just becomes when Jacque Vaughn is going to make his move. The obvious move is Dorian Finney-Smith in for Cam Thomas. We saw a hint of this on Tuesday when DFS closed over Cam Thomas, and Cam didn't play the entire fourth quarter. I don't want to kind of take this literally, but Vaughn was asked about this. He had mentioned making a change in the beginning of the year, so it might not happen until like literally January 2024. So probably not today. Like, we have the normal projected lineup in for today, and obviously coming off this mass rest spot on Wednesday that we've all kind of talked about ad nauseum. The comments from Mikal, we're expecting a full rotation and regular minutes for these guys, and just kind of be interested in seeing the distribution today between Cam Thomas and DFS. If you kind of see something similar and DFS plays more minutes than Cam, it was 33-23 on Wednesday.
Yep, and then as you mentioned, they get OKC on Sunday, and then January 2nd, I get a birthday gift, and they're probably going to go with Dorian Finney-Smith there after talking about it. Yeah, league worst, minus 21.4 net rating with that Cam Thomas starting line. It's just got to go. Like, there's no way around it. So, and maybe they change it. Like, it's been that bad that I think they've got to make a move here. So, yeah, expecting pretty full minutes here. Kind of straightforward. Day'Ron Sharpe should handle most of the backup center minutes. Claxton got a probable illness tag, which kind of made me perk up a little bit. So I did just want to add that. Because he was kind of just rested the last game. So just wanted to keep an eye on that. That's, not a true probable, I would say.
Washington side of things, Danilo Gallinari, the only player listed on the injury report, listed questionable with lower back spasms. That means DeLon Wright is off the injury report, missed the last game due to the back-to-back. Justin, what are your notes here on Danilo Gallinari?
Don't have a ton. I mean, he's not going to impact things a lot. I'll kind of go to a combination of Anthony Gill and Mike Muscala. Only notes here, Daniel Gafford's been on a stocks tear the last 4 games, 21 stocks combined over the last 4. And then Jordan Poole continues to be on a roller coaster from night to night, depending on the game flow. You'll see him anywhere from like 26 to 34, depending on the score. But other than that, DeLon Wright slots back in. They've been running that, Koulibaly, Kispert, Gallinari, DeLon Wright, Landry Shamet bench unit. So not a whole lot else here for us to kind of get into.
Yeah, Danilo Gallinari plays in his first back-to-back game of the year, and he gets hurt. Pretty questionable decision to do that. But yeah, I don't have too much to add. We'll certainly see if DeLon puts the squeeze on the top guys. We saw it was really affecting Landry Shamet when DeLon was in there, so we'll keep an eye on that. And then you pretty much nailed everything else. Poole been up and down. Minutes have been a little bit higher. He hasn't seen the bottom fall out like he was about a month ago. But yeah, it looks like they're good to go. Kuzma generally unaffected from that quad thing. He did aggravate it though. I did want to note that. So we mentioned in the Golden State game he hurt it, and then he hurt it again on Tuesday before the back-to-back. So did have some protection on it as well. But yeah, he should be good to go. His minutes were fine before the blowout.
Knicks and Orlando. On the Knicks side of things, injury report pretty clean here. I think we can move quickly past them. On the Orlando side, Gary Harris was listed questionable. I believe he's been ruled out, though. And Jonathan Isaac also listed questionable here. They're still without Markelle Fultz and Joe Ingles. Justin, what are your notes on the Magic tonight?
Yeah, John Isaac, a game time decision, according to Coach Mosley, has missed the last 2 games with that strained hamstring. Don't have a big read on him. We've seen them kind of continue to roll this 3-man look at center between Wendell Carter Jr., Mo Wagner, and Goga Batadze. And Wendell's minutes since his return have kind of fluctuated, mostly between like the 20 to 23 minute range. So he takes him completely off the table if they continue to run this 3-man look. Curious to hear Mike's take on how much longer he thinks they're going to stick with this 3-man look and whether they're going to come off it anytime soon. With Gary Harris, Gary Harris continues to bolster the minutes for Jalen Suggs. Played really well last game, still dealing with a bit of an injury, but he played 16 and a half minutes in the first half, so it continues to be someone on the radar. And Jonathan Isaac kind of mostly affects the minutes of like Chuma Okeke and Caleb Houston on the fringes, so not a whole lot there. He's been mostly in the kind of the teens. Yeah, that's all I got on the Magic.
Yeah, Goga got dinged up in the last game as well, and Wendell still couldn't get there. He's Mosley hasn't been getting questions on this, which is really annoying to me. Like it's the from our perspective, it's the biggest question on this team. Like, what's going on with these minutes, and he doesn't get any questions about it. So I don't know. Anyways, but yeah. So I mean, we've talked about this so much that we just keep waiting for it. It's just not happening. So yeah, I think we're gonna have to expect 3-man, and then the rest is you kind of laid out there. So I don't have too much to add.
Let's move to Milwaukee and Cleveland. Milwaukee, we've got the dreaded Giannis Antetokounmpo probable tag, and it's a probable tag that brings even more dread for me because it's listed as right calf injury management. And when it's injury management stuff, it feels like you either know or you don't know if you're managing the injury. So this probable tag, which we've talked about a number of times during the course of the last few years, that when Giannis gets probable tags with Milwaukee, they are much, much more like questionable tags and sometimes even doubtful tags. So, Justin, what are your thoughts on the probable tag for Giannis tonight?
Yeah, so went back and looked, and Giannis has had this probable tag 8 times this season, and he's played through it 7 times. The one time he missed was back on November 15th. That was his only missed game of the season. This NBA TV game, they're off until Monday, so I would think Giannis is good to go tonight despite this P tag. Obviously, us doing this, we have this like constant like PTSD and dread that's hanging over our heads, just preparing for the worst always. So obviously not a sure thing, but I think the chances are pretty good that Giannis gives it a go here.
Yeah, minutes were down a little bit. He was actually in there pretty late in the garbage time last time. And then, as I mentioned on the last show, this is not the first time he's had this right calf injury. He had it last month, middle of the month. So, yeah, keep an eye on that. But and should also mention too, he had that questionable tag last time, but he got ruled in right away, which is unusual. Usually, that game time, let him see him warm up. So, seems like this is just kind of like a wink, maybe for a possible upcoming back-to-back set. But expecting him to go, and we're pretty much I haven't looked at the minutes yet in Milwaukee, but I would pretty much throw out this slow game. He's been just playing so much here, and the matchup's not great. The Cavs have been still pretty decent with rim defense. Their rebounding's been awesome as well, so they haven't really missed Mobley from like a rim standpoint. Their defense has gotten worse. I think they're 15th in the NBA since Mobley went down on December 6th.
On the Cavaliers side, the fighting Cleveland Cavaliers coming off 2 big road wins. Who needs Donovan Mitchell? Who needs Darius Garland? Who needs Evan Mobley? Jared Allen and Craig Porter Jr. and Max Strus got this taken care of, along with Dean Wade and Isaac Okoro. Tonight on the injury report, Sam Merrill listed questionable with that right wrist sprain that's cost him the last few games. Donovan Mitchell listed questionable with illness still. Ty Jerome and Amani Bates and Evan Mobley and Isaiah Mobley all ruled out here. So, Justin, what are we doing with this Donovan Mitchell questionable tag on illness, which has been seemingly 10 plus days now?
It's starting to get a lot of discussion, especially on Cavs Twitter. There is like this conspiracy theory floating around that he has his shoulder injury that they're kind of putting under the radar a little bit. And that it isn't quite the illness, because it is a little suspicious that, he has been out for this long. He went through shoot around on Wednesday, which is obviously a promising sign. He looked good just in like the post-game celebrations and things like that. So I would think he has a good shot to play today. But this has become a decently big thing, where the Cavs beat writers on Evan Dammarell had to put out this like 6-tweet thread on Donovan Mitchell, kind of quelling the conspiracy theories that are going around about his shoulder. He did speculate that it might be a conditioning thing as well. So I will keep an eye on any comments from their coaching staff on Donovan Mitchell's minutes initially, that he might be a little bit capped. I wouldn't be surprised just given how long he's been off with this illness. But yeah, I think that this is something that, I turned on push notice for Donovan Mitchell, on Twitter, just waiting for that let him know, so we'll keep an eye on that.
Yeah, imagine following NBA news and not having Donovan Mitchell notifications. I actually have some players who I need to turn off though. I will say they're a little too much, but Donovan's straightforward. Like you get the occasional Mets tweet from Donovan, but yeah. Anyways, so yeah, let's talk my favorite topic. And we got a big hint last time. We don't have a hint today, sadly though, because we saw last game Craig Porter Jr. had a starter jersey on. Cavs, man, whoever the photographer is here, man, you gotta throw us a bone. We get no bones here. We got Max Strus, we got Allen, we got Wade, who they're all going to start. Karras is never going to start, I feel like, the rest of the way. So we don't get the Craig Porter Jr. picture. Hate to see it. So yeah, I don't have too much to add. You added up pretty much all the details there. And should mention Karras' minutes were pretty solid, a little bit up. I think the minutes limit's starting to get a little looser. Not a back-to-back here. So, but they're still all going to cap him. I don't think we're going to see like the 35s or anything like that for a little bit.
All right, let's move to Sacramento and Atlanta. On the Sacramento side of things, really clean injury report. I think we can kind of move quickly past them. On the Hawks side of things, they're still without DeAndre Hunter, right knee inflammation there. Also without Seth Lundy and Vit Krejci and some of the G League guys. So without DeAndre Hunter, what are your notes on the Hawks today? Gallagher, I'll start with you.
AJ Griffin off the injury report. He's not playing anyways. But yeah, Seth Lundy was in the rotation. He got hurt instantly with a really bad ankle tweak under the basket, and they kind of just threw everyone out there. So this game is not a back-to-back. I wouldn't be surprised in a pace-up game. You're talking about two of the fastest offenses in the NBA since De'Aaron Fox has come back. So this is the game, right? I mean, the total is really high, 1 point spread. The pace is going to be incredible. Two bad defenses, two terrible rim defenses. This is like the game to target for sure. That I'm sure Gary and Jeremy King will be hosting on DFS show later today. So excited to see what they got on tap. But yeah, really elevated minutes. Trae Young had his 30-10 streak snapped. Bogdan's still playing a lot. I was curious to see if Jalen Johnson would take a little bit of upside off Bogdan's minutes, and it didn't really happen. He was chucking it in a great matchup to do it against the Bulls. So really brutal game for Clint Capella. One of his worst games of the year is Andre Drummond just like took his lunch overall. And then DeJounte's usage has been like a little spotty. Pretty interesting matchup here for these guards. I expect De'Aaron Fox to guard Trae for a good bet, and then Keon Ellis will kind of fit in there. I'm curious to see if Keon Ellis actually cuts into Huerter, because everyone cuts into Kevin Huerter nowadays. Does get the revenge game. But I do expect Jalen Johnson's minutes to come up a little bit. He's looked pretty good. Your guy, Dink. Yeah, pretty straightforward. And then should also note the overlap went away, which I was kind of expecting. Jalen Johnson just a way different four-man than how they had it before. So I think the overlap, maybe we see it here and there. But in this spot against the Kings, I think it's a little unlikely. Well, I haven't looked at their minutes, but I know we have probably like 1 or 2 minutes of big man overlap. What do you think, man?
Yeah, I don't have any overlap for those guys today. Expecting Jalen Johnson's minutes to come up a bit too from that 29 that he saw in his return. I think Bogdan's minutes are going to be very solid in this like 30 range for the foreseeable future without DeAndre Hunter. So yeah, I pretty much covered everything. Don't have a ton to add.
Cool.
To what you had.
Let's do it under an hour.
Let's move to Toronto and Boston. On the Toronto side, fairly clean injury report here. We talked about the starting lineup change before. So I'll kind of pair Toronto and Boston together, Justin, with you. On the Boston side, Drew Holiday questionable, Al Horford out due to rest, Jaylen Brown questionable, lower back contusion, Kristaps Porzingis doubtful, left calf injury management, Jason Tatum questionable. The last man standing here potentially could be Derek White tonight. He's the only, of their core, like 6 guys, their only starter that's not listed with a Q tag or a doubtful tag here. So Any notes on the Raptors, who they're facing, and then also the Celtics, who have just a huge injury report today on the back-to-back?
Yeah, so I'll start with the Raptors. We saw Point Scotty in full effect, 20, 12, and 8 with 5 stocks. Pascal Siakam, season high 11 assists. Caveat, obviously, they played the Wizards, so stat lines are obviously going to be very inflated, but really promising for both those guys. And we saw Schroeder still played 15 minutes in the first half off the bench. Benefit a little bit from Jakob Poeltl foul trouble in the first half, but I think we're going to see Darko play his main 6, all pretty solid minutes, and then they're going to fill out the rotation with like Boucher, Otto Porter Jr., and Jalen McDaniels. So don't have a ton to add there. We've seen Point Scotty in effect before. And I think
Well, just on that note, there you mentioned the secondary reserves. The big surprise here was Precious Achiuwa didn't sub in until basically the second half, and you would think that Dennis Schroeder would make a lot of sense as a pick and roll partner for Precious Achiuwa as the one guy who's a pretty adept role man in that spot, but they didn't go that way, and Schroeder was still delivering a bunch of assists. Do you think that Achiuwa's role here is really does he have a guaranteed role going forward? What do you think's happening with the back end of this rotation?
I think we'll see some movement, and I don't think it's going to be set in stone every game. We'll see mix and match and different combinations, and as it should be. I don't think any of these guys. I mean, Otto's been pretty solid overall, but I don't think any of these guys have played well enough to cement rotation spot yet, and they're not really good enough to really warrant that either. So I think we'll see it kind of fluctuate. I'm going to continue to kind of be on hedge life and middle a lot of these. I still have Precious for minutes today, but it's going to be fluid. But yeah, I think we can move on to Boston. I think that's a lot.
If I could just add to the draw before we move on. Dennis Schroeder was aided by the foul trouble, as you mentioned, but assisting out the wazoo, 10 dimes, 18 potential assists, led the team in touch time, even coming off the bench. And Scotty's touch time was actually really down. He was tied with Pascal for basically second and third on the team for touch time. His drives were down. All his roll stats were down, but made the most of it. He ran a little hot on potentials, but pretty good stat line. He's playing really, really well. So gotta like where he's at as well. And then just wanted to note the starting lineup. 8 minutes going into the year of this lineup, because we basically don't really see Poeltl and Gary Trent playing together, and they only played 10 minutes together. You mentioned the Poeltl foul trouble. It was terrible. The Wizards torched them for 153 defensive rating. Obviously, major small sample size here, but they're going to run with it. And I actually feel a little bit more confident that Jalen McDaniels and Otto Porter are going to be in. They got talked up by Darko after the game, so I feel pretty good about them being in. Malachi Flynn, I think, is dead. I don't want to give him any minutes just because if you're playing Schroeder off the bench, who needs another point guard out there? And then, I think Boucher was okay. So I think that Boucher is kind of in the lead on Precious, but that was surprising to me. We even thought he was a candidate to start with the lineup shift, and getting booted was quite surprising.
Yeah,
move to the Boston side.
Let's move to the Boston side. So I have a lot of thoughts here. I mean, Jason Tatum immediately after the game, when he was asked about his status, he volunteered that he's questionable for today. He's still dealing with that soreness in that ankle. I'd be pretty surprised if he went today. And heading in, before we even got the Celtics injury report, we flagged Drew Holiday as a strong rest candidate just because he played 44 minutes in the first leg of a back-to-back. So I would be fairly surprised if Tatum and Drew play in this spot, just given how much they played last night. I do think Jalen returns today. So tentatively, my starting lineup, and I want to hear your guys' thoughts because there's a lot of moving parts here. I have it Derek White, Delano Banton, who got the spot start once earlier this year for Drew Holiday, Jaylen Brown, Sam Hauser, and then, I guess Lamar Stevens was the guy who started at center a couple weeks ago when we thought it'd be Keita instead, right? So I have those guys penciled in, and then the bench unit would be Pritchard, O'Shea Brissett, Keita, Svi Mihalik, and Luke Cornett. So that's kind of where I'm at. We saw Delano Ban only played 19 minutes in a spot start earlier this season for Drew. Don't think he's going to play a ton. They like Peyton Pritchard off the bench more than him. And Sam Hauser, just no interest in him as a starter. He's averaging 7, 3, and 1 in 36 minutes per game. I think in 3 starts this season. So just been a very underwhelming, performer, even in big minutes as a starter. So kind of a lot to get to. I think it's clearly the Derek White and Jaylen Brown show today, assuming we have these kind of leans correctly. And then we'll see on how the starting center rotation would shape up. We saw in the first half on the 15th, Lamar played 6 minutes in the first half. Keita played 10 minutes. O'Shea Brissett played 5. And they closed like the final 7 minutes of that half with the Hauser Tatum front courts too. So they played pretty small for stretches there too. I don't think they can get away with it today, especially if Tatum doesn't play. That's kind of where I'm at tentatively, just with the expectations on the Celtics. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on the Banton thing. I'm like trying to figure out how to not start Hauser. It's tough. Like, it's a really tough sell. Like, they're not going to start Pritchard. I mean, maybe they start Keita, Lamar Stevens or something like that crazy. But I think I don't know, man. The Minas Keita's been really good, so I think he's kind of like earned it that he should get the start. So we actually have him as the lead dog for minutes.
Yeah,
we'll see. We'd adjust him down if he's for sure not starting. And then we have pretty much Luke Cornett and Lamar Stevens like splitting the rest for our 48. And then we don't have any small ball stuff in there. And that's with kind of almost all that's with we put the questionable tags in. But you laid all that out really nicely. So and then shout out to them for a nice little comeback. I'm sure the books were happy with it with a lot of money on the Pistons last night.
What happened there? Justin, can you educate me? I saw a tweet that the Pistons money line was the most bet on bet, and I'm just like, who did this? Who got behind this witchcraft of that they're not going to set the record in Boston? Like, what happened there?
The public loves a big dog. If you give them a 850, they'll take it, right? And I was at Circa last night, and damn near half the book had Pistons money line.
Wow.
We saw at halftime, pretty much everybody was high-fiving each other. I'm sitting there. I had a little, plus 850, like $100 on it for fun, just for the social aspect of it.
Yeah.
I'm watching all these people high-five each other like it's a done deal, and I'm like, first time,
I mean, that's the signal. Did you take the signal and go right to the counter and I live Celtics money line?
I did take Celtics live.
Let's go.
I think they're like plus 140 or something. But that was the clear tell, that's I'm on the wrong side here. If half these guys are high-fiving each other, celebrating early, not knowing that this is the Detroit Pistons. We're talking about the Celtics haven't lost at home so far this year. But just a electric scene, I'll say, at the Bucks last night.
I couldn't believe it because I really thought just generally that there's not a number that you could have priced high enough that would have actually attracted people to. And so when I saw that tweet, I was like shocked, and I was like, 850 wouldn't be good enough for me. I'd need more. Yep. So I was like, I was thinking, man, that was surprising. The one note I'll have here is I do think the matchup with Pirtle, like Cornette's kind of a good fit for matching up with Pirtle in the minutes that he'd have. So I would throw out there the third option that I don't think it's out of the realm that like Cornette starts, but just plays like 16 minutes or something like that. Mostly just matches his minutes with Pirtle. Also keeps the biggest issue with Keita is just fouls. He just fouls so frequently. So gets Keita into a second unit that's going to be less like foul risk. I think that's on the table as well for the Celtics tonight. Just because of the matchup. Pirtle just is a big dude, a big body, kind of taking up space. Cornette can kind of fill that role as well.
Are we generally probably going to be staying away from any of these options, though? It seems like a three-headed monster, and there's a decent amount of variant. I don't feel great about Lamar Stevens' minutes, even if he starts. Yeah. We saw 6 first half minutes, like I said, on the 15th when he did get that spot start, and Keita played 10 to a 6. So I even if Lamar Stevens starts, I would probably project Keita for more minutes, but knowing that they have Cornette around this time, that kind of affects things for me.
I'm into Keita. He's a pretty good per minute guy when he's humming. Matchups pretty good overall. The Raptors on defense have been pretty bad for the last month, and I mentioned how bad the first unit was in the last game, again, small sample. But yeah, Derek White. If one of the Jays are in, I like Derek White a lot. OG would get the wing, and then Derek White would guard a mixture of Gary Trent and Schroeder and all that, which I really like. So Derek White would be the guy I'd want to get my hands on.
Yep. All right, let's keep it moving to Philadelphia and Houston. On the Philadelphia side of things, Joel Embiid's still out with this right ankle sprain. They're also without Nico Batum with the right hamstring strain. KJ Martin listed questionable due to illness. The back end of that rotation has been in flux a little bit. We saw Covington come back, Mike, as you predicted, against a wing-heavier Orlando matchup. The matchup tonight against Houston a little bit bigger as well. Mike, what are your thoughts on how Philadelphia continues to handle the absence of Joel Embiid?
Yeah, just a great game from Paul Reed overall from a stat standpoint. I thought he was pretty disciplined. I mean, to keep the Magic in check at the rim with Paul Reed, who has rim deficiencies as a defender. I thought he played one of his best games of the year, probably the best game of the year, I would say. So I think he gave himself a little bit of cushion. They ran pretty big here. We talked about how we didn't expect them to run much small ball, and they didn't at all. So I expect that to continue again. Alfred Şengün is a madman right now. So you need a big man down there. You can't be messing around with Marcus Morris. So I would expect those centers to get all the minutes. I haven't done that yet to check where we're at. And then, Tobias' minutes were in check. I think, a little bit back-to-back related there. We had an under on him, and he just barely cooked us, just chucked it all day. Matchups a little unclear. Like, I think Tari would get him. We'll get to Houston in a second. That's one of the tougher teams today. And then, big minutes for Melton. That was a big story. And then Maxi's been playing really well. Tough matchup for him. Even with the defenders gone, they're just so good at transition defense. The Houston defense is insane in transition. And then, I think everything else is, I'm a little bit more bearish on Covington today on his minutes, just because, again, the wing impact isn't as strong as it is in Orlando.
Justin, any thoughts on Philadelphia?
Yeah, so obviously Paul Reed bounced back game, 31.5 minutes on Wednesday after playing just 17.5 on Christmas. Obviously Christmas was foul trouble driven. He picked up 4 fouls in 8 minutes. I do want to talk about this though, because Mike talked about Paul Reed. Obviously, yes, he played well last game. It's not really about earning those minutes. It's more about staying out of foul trouble. And for me in this matchup against Houston, they draw the 4th most personal fouls per 48 to opposing centers this season in Alperen Şengün. So I am fairly worried about Reed's minutes here. Just kind of you just box score looking, and you're just expecting him to play, 28 to 32 again. I think there's some downside here that he gets in foul trouble again, and we see a little bit more Mo Bamba than we anticipate. So just want to highlight that. And one more thing with this Sixers team, massive D'Anthony Melton role for him the last 2 games. 37 minutes in each of the last 2 games, averaging 19, 6, and 3 with 3.5 stocks. So just want to give him some love. He's been really, really solid for them, playing big minutes in a really good role.
Yeah, low key, because he's not competing with Kelly Oubre anymore. Kelly Oubre's has been slotting next to him a bunch, which was kind of why his minutes were getting cut down a little bit. They would play a little bigger on the wing, but that's kind of the reason why. But he's been playing great. Shout out to Class Guy. Sorry, Dink.
We will once the NFL season is done, we will hop back on a playback stream and talk through the My Guys draft and the D'Anthony Melton, Nikola Jokic selections. I have a lot to say about them. We will. I promise the audience, once the NFL season winds down and we get onto playback one night, we'll go through it. There's drama to be had. Let's move to the Houston side of things. Dylan Brooks is out. Jabari Smith Jr. also out, and Tari Eason questionable with lower left leg soreness. Tari's been playing through these questionable tags of late, even the back-to-backs. This is a big opportunity for him in the absence of Jabari Smith, so I'm hoping he's able to play through it once again. Last year's guy for me, not this year for Tari. Justin, what are your thoughts on Tari Eason's questionable tag and the Rockets rotation?
Yeah, I feel very confident that Tari goes today. He had this interview from this morning, them talking about next man up with them being shorthanded. Tari was one of the guys they interviewed. He was kind of talking up his role. This Q tag for me is more of an issue and a concern on back-to-backs when they're managing him. I think this is something he's been dealing with for a while now, this left lower leg soreness. My concern isn't really that he's going to play or not. I'm very confident he's going to go tonight. It's more the minutes, right? And we've kind of seen the last 2 games, he's at 25, 26 minutes. I think he's probably the favorite to start today. They went with Jayshawn Tate in a bit of a surprise last game for Dylan Brooks. But now that both Dylan Brooks and Jabari Smith Jr. are out, I don't think they have a choice but to start both Jayshawn and Tari Eason. So I have those two penciled in the starting lineup right now, and curious to hear your guys' thoughts on where we're comfortable putting Tari Eason's minutes at today in a presumed start. And then the back end of the rotation kind of fills in. We're going to see more Cam Whitmore than usual. We saw Jock Landale get see an appearance in the second half when Jabari Smith Jr. was out. So would think it's probably like Amen Thompson, Holiday, Whitmore, Jeff Green, and Jock Landale with like potentially if you want to throw Reggie Bullock in there, you can if you want. But last thing I'll have on this is no Dylan Brooks on Wednesday. And we saw just massive usage for Jalen Green. He got up to 37%. And, he's never a guy that I'm really interested in just because he doesn't do much outside of scoring. But with that usage and his minutes aren't really a concern anymore. He got benched for, I don't know, like a decent stretch to close
Aaron Holiday
a recent game. Yeah. So I don't think he has that minutes downside necessarily anymore, that they're so shorthanded without Dylan Brooks and Jabari Smith Jr. So like, in this spot with kind of an elevated minutes floor, bigger usage without Dylan Brooks, I'm like semi interested, but it is Jalen Green. I'm not gonna get too excited here.
Yeah, so let me let's bounce. I did the minutes with Chris, and we were like, all right, I want to ask fans where he's at. So we have Tari at 31.
Okay,
where are you at?
I have him at 30, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, I was like, because we saw some ceiling games, man, off the bench. So I was like, he might still have the ceiling. I feel like at worst he's getting like 27, just with the Q tag. But on the high end, I think he has like 34, around something like that. So that's kind of how we came up with that number. And then Jalen Green, Chris had him at 34. Sam, I think, had him at 29. We were talking on the hike today, and I was like 30 and a half. So we landed on 30. I still like, again, there's just dudes coming for him. Like, you take one guy out and then somebody else who comes in comes for him. Like Aaron Holiday comes for him. I could see Cam Whitmore coming for him. Obviously the two Tari could play a ton. Jayshawn Tate could play a ton. He's not, Fred VanVleet's playing a ton. So I think 30 is a pretty good number to kind of bake in a little bit of ceiling, but he still has pretty big downside to me. So how do you feel about 30?
Yeah, I think I'm at 31, so I'm a little higher on him, but
like the downside's been so bad, and like a lot of the guard pressure you mentioned, D'Anthony, he's gonna struggle, I think, in this spot. So I don't know. I just think that he has still pretty big downside, just because Aaron Holiday's there, and I think they're gonna want to put Aaron Holiday on Maxey a ton, and like what's easy, you're not gonna want to take out unless you take out Tate, which you could do. Yeah. So I'm a little bit worried that Holiday cuts into him still. And like I said, I think Cam Whitmore could cut into him. He's been playing pretty decent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think they could start Holiday and Tate and keep Tari off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
Is another solution here. And so the one thing that I push back on with Tari from a ceiling perspective is like, yes, we've seen it some. We've also seen him kind of stuck in the mid 20s off the bench of late. And then the Q tag, and then Jalen Green on his side, like, without Jabari, they don't have a lot of offensive creation. So there's a role missing there that, yes, all these guys on the bench have been coming for his minutes before, but that's when they had 3 guys that they could generate offense from kind of on the floor. They might not have that as much tonight. So I think Green's role is probably a little safer tonight. I did want to say, have you guys looked at DFS pricing at all today?
No.
How much do you think is the difference in price between Fred VanVleet and Jalen Green on DraftKings tonight?
Should be like $3,000. I'd say 3.
Any
I'd say
guesses, Sam?
2-7 difference. 2-7. I'll go 2-7.
I'll go 3,200.
Yeah, they're priced $500 apart tonight on DraftKings.
Nice job.
Fred VanVleet is 7,900 and
Whoa.
Jalen Green is 7,400 on DraftKings.
What?
I have no idea how the algorithm came to that conclusion, but it was jarring when I looked.
They're like 16. They're like 1,600 apart on FanDuel. I think.
Yeah.
That's
I don't know what the DraftKings algorithm maybe got a piece of that Pop-Tart last night and got a little funky.
I knew because you posed the question it'd be either an extreme one way or the other, right?
Yeah.
Like way above 16 or way under 16.
Yep.
Relative to FanDuel.
Yeah.
I knew it was gonna be wacky.
All right.
Well, let's hit Şengün. We just got to shout out Alfred Şengün really quick. Oh my God, the guy's just on fire right now. The touches are he has like a Jokic role. Obviously not as good as efficiency. Certainly, he won't go 100% from the field triple double, but he's just completely crushing. He's cover boyable regardless of the slate. He's been just absolutely crushing.
I think one interesting thing to close based off what Dink said about Jalen Green. The interesting point for me is Jalen Green versus Tari Eason minutes, and where you land on that. I'm on Jalen Green plays more than Tari Eason tonight. I think Gallagher on the other side.
I'm just worried about the downside. Like I think 50 percentile outcome, like probably, but like 20 percentile outcome, I think that's what I'm scared of. Like I could see him getting nuked, and assuming Tari doesn't get in foul trouble and he's healthy, which you sound like he's healthy. Like I think he's got a 85% chance to hit like 27 minutes, honestly, and that's assuming he's starting. And I think that's a lower number for Green.
All right, let's move to Charlotte and Phoenix. Charlotte on the second night of back-to-back here. They have not yet submitted unless they did while we're recording here, but expecting a full injury report, as has been the case for Charlotte of late. They had a bunch of guys without Gordon Hayward last night. They had Brandon Miller questionable last night. He ended up playing. So Gallagher, any kind of initial leans on what we might get from Charlotte, who's been without Gordon Hayward and Mark Williams?
They were able to keep the minutes in check last game, so I think they'll be out there. Still expecting Mark Williams to get this freaking doubtful tag, which has been so tilting for my best ball teams, which have a lot of Mark Williams on them. But yeah, little Bryce McGowan's got garbage boosted. He's going to be light. I think they're going to want to play Cody, especially in this matchup for the on-ball defense. Keep an eye on his back-to-back status, though. He missed a long time for a knee injury, so I won't be surprised if he gets managed. But if he's not, I think he could play a bunch. A little bit surprised PJ Washington didn't play more. I was expecting him to get up there. Even his first half minutes were light. Nick Richards double machine lately. And that's mostly it. Rozier's minutes were down a little bit, but he's fine. Roll's been pretty solid, not really too much. A little bit more Nick Smith Jr. than I thought too. Like he was pacing for like 18-19 before garbage, so that was a little bit surprising to see him kind of be in like Cody's. I thought Cody was going to separate a little bit more. So yeah, mostly it, but yeah, expecting and I wouldn't be surprised if they add someone else here. Like this team just getting housed right now.
Yeah, we have Cody Martin on the monitor list in the back-to-back, so would not be surprised at all if he's out. And 16-point dogs on the road against Suns who have very little interest in this Hornets team altogether.
Yeah, they were hanging around in the first half, and then Lakers went zone, and they couldn't score on the zone. It was insane. 13 zone possessions last game. I think their points per possession were it was low. It was like 0.4 or something. It was really bad.
The Phoenix Suns side of things, Josh Okogie listed questionable, and Nasir Little listed available. Bradley Beal is technically listed questionable, but reports are that he is expected to make his return tonight. So we will see for, I think, the third time this season, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Bradley Beal all play together. Justin, what are your expectations for Bradley Beal's return?
Yep, Beal's back. Okogie participated in shoot-around, so he should be good to go too. This is going to be game number 3, like you said, only the second full game. The second game, Beal got hurt, so the only full game of the big 3 we have was back on Isaiah Stewart out 10 to 14 days. Interesting. The only full game we have of the big 3 is on the 13th against the Nets. We saw KD 27% usage, Booker 24% usage, and Beal all the way down to 14% usage that game. We've seen kind of 2 instances where Bradley Beal has returned. His season debut, he played 24 minutes, and then when he returned from the injury, he played 27.5. So today I have him at like 24.5, 25. They're 16-point favorites. I don't see any reason for them to push it. Actually, probably will move him back down to 24. I think just kind of to bake that in. But yeah, I think kind of cut most of the minutes here for the bigger names. I think I have Devin Booker, KD like 35, and Grayson Allen down too. So I think this one could get really ugly, especially if the Hornets have a couple more guys pop up on the injury report.
Yeah, we got 36s, and because the minute stealing has been so high on KD, 41 in the last game. We seen Booker hit like mid 40s sometimes. So we still have because like if it was a tight spread, we'd be like 39. So we're still taking like 3 minutes off which is a lot for us. Taking 3 minutes off for blah is a lot for us. But yeah, so let's talk through the starting situation. Last game they didn't have Grayson Allen and they started Chimezie Metu. I would be pretty surprised if it's not Grayson Allen. I assume you agree. Yeah, for sure Grayson Allen. And then we're pretty confident in him. We got him, again, a little bit of blowout baked in, but still 31 minutes, feeling pretty good about his role. And then the other question is, how dead is Drew Eubanks? Is he dead, or could he come back to life here? He's dead.
Yeah, I think he's dead. I mean, I think it's pretty clear he lost the backup center job or is going to lose it to Udoka Azubuike, which is crazy because like when we talked about this last week was when I was on the show about, I was saying Eubanks was bad chalk, whatever. I didn't like him at all. And I was kind of talking through how I was trying to get Eubanks minutes down. I was like, maybe it's Metu, maybe it's small ball. Then I didn't even know like Azubuike was on the radar as an option. Azubuike just came out of nowhere to play a big role. So I think Eubanks is pretty dead now.
Yeah. We got him. Do you have him for any? We have him at 1.5. I kind of just want to kill it all.
Yeah.
Do you have anything for him?
I gave him like nominal garbage time minutes with like the Watanabes, the KBDs, and the so nominal.
I should just note Okogie. He had a probable tag with this ankle thing, and then now he gets a questionable tag. Minutes were pretty light last game, so I'm not sure if it was injury related. But as you said, expecting him to play, but we got him pretty light. We only got him at 12, which is probably the lightest we've had him all season. Which makes sense because they're getting players back. I should mention Kevin Durant tied his season high assist. Played great after all the talk. He goes out there and helps his teammates and puts up 16 times. Oh, let me ask you about Gordon. What do you got, Gordon, real quick? We got 27, and I kind of want to come down.
Yeah, I think I have him at 26.5.
Okay. I want to move him down a half.
All right, OKC and Denver, the game of the night for my eyes. OKC on the injury report, Jalen Williams, the big, not J-Dub Williams, listed questionable with the right hip contusion. Justin, what are your notes on the Thunder tonight?
I don't really have much here. I mean, Jalen Williams is playing single-digit minutes pretty much consistently, so probably going to go to some combination of like Davis Bertans and a couple of maybe Kenrick picks up a couple. So like I don't think his impact, his absence impacts really anything potentially.
I think this would have been a matchup that he would have played though. Like I think if he's available, like I think against Jokic, they just like they don't have a lot of size on this roster. So that's the one thing that I think complicates things is the matchup itself.
Yeah, true. It would be. We saw that that Embiid game when he started the second half and got overlap with Chet in that spot, and he started. I think it was over. Oh, someone I forget. I think it was over. Oh, it was over Kaysen. I think Kaysen started that game if I remember, and they went to Jalen because someone was out. I think it was Dort. Anyways, but I think Kenrich would be interesting here. They kind of love him as a center defender. He's got really good hands, Kung Fu Kenny style. So I think he would benefit there. Helps Chet Holmgren's minutes a little bit. And then my guy Jalen Williams just torched the Knicks in the last game, and Shea is just unstoppable, man. Like we talked about how good KCP's defense is. Who cares? This man's just unstoppable.
Yeah, it'll be interesting from Denver's perspective. A little bit of a revenge spot as Shea hit the game winner in this matchup last time. Denver is on the second night of back-to-back here. They're going to be without Aaron Gordon for a while. We'll see if anything else kind of pops up on the injury report. I'm really hoping not.
I hope did. Yeah.
Okay.
We got MPJ questionable now. He got added, so that's potentially 2 starters that they'd be down. Tentatively would assume that Justin Holiday would get the start for MPJ if he ends up missing. Interesting note on Peyton Watson. We got comments from Mike Malone after that he wasn't originally supposed to start. That he didn't kind of go into the reasons why, but they were going to approach it replacing Gordon on a game-to-game basis. But given how well Peyton Watson played last night, would think the job is his for the foreseeable future. So he kind of played himself into it, I would think. So they're going to run it back with him tonight, I'm pretty sure, and then we'll see on MPJ.
Yeah, Malone said that like you said, he was kind of tossing and turning who to figure out. You'd think the other option would have been Justin Holiday.
Yeah.
And he said that my job's easier now. So that's, code for like, okay, he won the job now. He was great, man. They weren't really covering him, but he really made life tough on Jaren Jackson at times. He's been a really physical defender. He had a great defensive game against Kevin Durant. He's probably getting some of that SGA stuff to take a little bit of pressure off KCP.
He's got good size.
He's been great, man. Like, it's funny how he was so hurting after the preseason. He's just come back to life. And, I was I talked him up a lot on the DFS show yesterday, and just aces, man. He had 4 threes, career high. They weren't guarding him. And, his minutes, I think, are pretty secure here. I think I haven't got to Denver's minutes yet, but I'd probably be like, I wanted to take some overs on him yesterday, but I feel pretty good about this role. And then his minutes for would even be better if MPJ is out. And I agree, it's definitely Justin Holiday if MPJ is out. I should have mentioned too, DeAndre Jordan was ahead of Zeke Naji.
Yeah, and I'll just note that just massive Jokic game coming if MPJ is out. I know it's hard to come back from a perfect triple-double where you're 11 for 11 from the field, 3 for 3 from the line, and you go 26, 14, and 10 in 30 minutes. But I think the line might be even bigger tonight. They're just they've got options to defend Jamal Murray. They do not have options to defend Jokic in the same way. We'll see if Chet's length bothers Jokic in any way, shape, or form, but I think you're just going to get a ton of usage from Jokic tonight.
Yeah, just more stat padding as usual from Jokic. Nothing to see
exactly.
Here.
Yeah,
exactly.
And their rim defense is pretty good, but Jokic is just immune to any rim defense. We saw that last night. Just one of the best rim defenses in the NBA goes freaking perfect. So yeah, I agree. This is definitely. I wanted to cover Blam, but it's like kind of too easy.
San Antonio and Portland playing second night consecutively in Portland. I'm not sure why the schedule makers decided to give them the back-to-back and not the day off in Portland, but here we are. No filings yet on the injury report here. Would expect to see lots of potential action. So Justin, what are you anticipating? What's on your kind of monitor list for San Antonio side of things?
Yeah, Wemby is like all but guaranteed to be out. Pop said he's only going to play one leg of this back-to-back. I think like the beat writers were like kind of hedging yesterday, saying he's not expected to play. So we have him like doubtful technically right now, but like the injury report, fully expect him to be straight rolled out, which means Zach Collins would move back in the starting lineup in a revenge spot against the Blazers. Like this spot for him. This should be a pretty ugly game. I think the Blazers have a decent chance to be shorthanded on their side too. So really good spots for Keldon Johnson and Devin Vassell, who have seen meaningful usage rate bumps this season when Wemmy's been off the floor. Just a pretty good game environment overall between two defensively challenged teams, we'll say.
Yeah, Wemby, man, I had a bad take on the DFS show yesterday because I said I don't know if Wemby can get there with it sounds like a pretty hard 24 cap. I was way wrong. Just ham 36 and 6, 7 blocks.
Yeah,
so,
clearly, you're a donkey for not predicting 7 blocks in 24 minutes. That's clearly
what am I doing?
Thing. Yeah, just
against the second worst rim defense in the NBA.
Let's. If Moses Brown and Baji and Jabari Walker are going to be the guys taking shots at the rim, I like my chances of Wemby blocking 7 shots in a game. I actually got behind last night in DF and late swap pivoted to Wemby. Which saved me some min cash life because I was just stacking up the Portland side anyway. I was like, might as well just get in here with Wemby and off AD. And man, I thought we had a Whiteside situation developing. I was ready for the he did it with blocks.
Nice.
Yeah, but unfortunately, just stuck at 24 minutes, couldn't get there.
Are we gonna get a quad double out of Wemby in the next like 5 years? I feel like that's certainly on the table. Like who's more likely to get a quad double than him? Nobody, right? He's the most likely.
No,
he's not most likely.
Yeah,
nobody.
No, nobody. I mean,
he's the most likely.
I guess it's just because it's so hard to do with steals.
Shot blockers,
got the steals record with 11 or something like that.
Do turnovers count? Because if they do, I would have some.
Turnovers count. Russ has done this routinely.
I would have some candidates in there if turnovers.
Yeah. I mean, Luka would be probably the primary candidate if turnovers counted at this point with what they're asking him to do. Portland side of things, what do you guys?
If I could just chime in on San Antonio really quick. So back to back, I think more people are coming on this too. Keep an eye on Keldon. We've seen him kind of pop up with some P tags. We know Vassell had some stuff earlier that could limit him. So I think one of those guys is a candidate to sit. And I think Blake Wesley kind of plays today. We saw him sneak in some minutes. Pop liked him, and they kind of got out of the rotation last game. I think in a back-to-back, we see these coaches like, I want to put a fresh body out there. So I think Blake's kind of going to – we got him for like 5 minutes. I think he's going to maybe get 10. And that's with everyone in besides Wemby. And then, Zach Collins' revenge. Not getting the overlap. Foul trouble yesterday was pretty bad to keep him down. But obviously, A-plus matchup here. We'll talk about the Portland Spurs in a second. But, go ahead.
And one more thing, the Spurs defense would go from ranked 11th on the season with Wemby on the court to dead last when he's off the court. So very, very juicy matchup on both sides of the ball tonight.
Yep.
Yeah. Just checking to make sure that it's not even on the DFS slate. So you won't get to talk about it tonight from a DFS perspective. It's late slate only for the late slate sickos out there, but we'll keep going throughout the slate. Portland side of things, new center in Portland, new center who dis. Justin, what are your thoughts on a bad Baji man in Portland?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Moses Brown truther. He's just a fun player. I was hoping he would get a little bit more time. The other day when they ruled out their starter and he got the spot start, I took the over on his rebounds at 9.5, and he hit like at 11 in like 20 minutes or something. He's such a fun player to root for. But yeah, I mean, without Duop Reith, who just went crazy in their last game, Moses was still stuck at 14. So a little disappointing on my end. But yeah, I just want to hear your thoughts on that center rotation.
Yeah, Baji's a bad man. They were kind of stored like every time there's a new player on a team's rotation, they got all the notes. So my favorite note from the Blazers broadcast, which I freaking love. I love the Blazers broadcast. When he was 15 years old, he had a 7'6" wingspan. Imagine playing basketball at 15 and facing a guy who's 7 foot 7'6". I was just blown away by that. He's like 7'8", 7'9" now. But dude, he had a block. He had one. I don't say the word bra, like it's not in my lexicon of words, but I let a bra out with the block he had as the game was winding down, just completely swallowed up. I think it was Branham, but I'm not sure. So yeah, he's fun, dude. We got him pretty good. Because we have Duop Reith out. Should mention he pulled his back out in warmups, so really late scratch there. He was one of the chalkiest plays on DFS. So we got 14 for Baji, 16 for Moses Brown. It's usually 7 minutes at heaven to start the half, and then that's it. So I don't think he's got a big ceiling. Nope. So kind of fun with if Baji gets it going here, man. Shot blocking supreme. You mentioned no Wemby. He's I hope Jeremy King loves Moses Brown. Excited to hear him. But yeah, I'm you know me, any new rotation player, I'm like kid in a candy store. So and then should mention Jabari Walker coming for Tumani Kamara's minutes. He's been playing freaking awesome. Yeah. So he's in play every night, man. This guy's one of the best bench players in the league, honestly, just because the minutes are there. And then, my God, Brogdon, he lost some garbage time minutes a little bit late, but he was trending for like 40, 42 before the game got a little bit out of hand. We had an under on hand that was tilting, goes 0 in the first quarter, and then hit 9 points in 62 seconds in the third to mostly get us there.
So
and then Grant, great plant from Dink on Jeremy Grant, 41 minutes, 29, 10, and 5, and just played awesome and really aggressive with the shot.
Yeah, a couple things. So with respect to the injury projection right now, in the
We
minutes,
got outs everywhere except Ant.
Yeah, we have Sharp, Ayton, Duop, Reith. We're thinking they're all out, and then Ant we have in tentatively, but would not be surprised if he's out too. So would think like this box score in terms of like who's available is fairly representative of what you'll see tonight. I want to ask about Malcolm Brogdon specifically. So he played 37 last night. Assuming
he lost minutes to blow up.
Yeah, I agree. So assuming Ant is out again tonight and he's starting, how aggressive do we want to get on the Brogdon minutes in the second leg of a back-to-back?
We have him at 32 right now, and that's with Ant in. I would be 34 and I'd be 34 in a back-to-back, just because again the ceiling's so high, but back-to-back, and he's nuked us a couple times. Where are you at? Dink, where would you be on Brogdon with Ant out?
I'd have to look back through previous back-to-backs for Brogdon before commenting, because I don't know offhand. But I will say that coming into the season, because the reports that he failed a physical with the Clippers via trade had me like super, super bearish on Brogdon. And I've looked really foolish on it from like a best ball perspective, a season-long projections perspective. He's really outperformed his ADP. And so I have this bias in my head about being more cautious on him. But I've been wrong kind of every step of the way on that. So, I probably have to go back and look at the past back-to-backs.
So the back-to-backs this season for Brogdon, he's had a lot of these games where he's played like middle 20 minutes, right? As a more limited kind of reserve or whatever. In the 2 games of a back-to-back where he was actually like playing starters minutes, he's played 34 and 36 in the lone back-to-back. So we have some precedent that he can go, but I'm exactly in the same spot that you are, Dink, in terms of like I have that little bias in my head that there's.
It's also just like it makes no sense. They should be doing everything they can to protect any value that he's built up during the course of the season in advance of the trade deadline. But like, who knows? Like they haven't exercised that caution all along the way, so I don't know why they'd necessarily start now.
Yeah, and I'll just add the elbow thing. Like, it's not something that is usually like a recurring, aggravated kind of injury. Medical staff don't really care about that, but he did have the hammy. That's the one thing that would give me a little bit. That's something that medical staffs will monitor. But I'm basically like if you took a mystery player, right, and looked at his box scores, and you were like, all right, where would you put him at? You'd have him like 37, right? So I'm taking like 33 minutes off for the Brogdon risk.
Yeah, I mean, I think on a back-to-back, you'd be more quiet normally than 37, but point taken for sure.
Yeah.
Last note I'll close with on Portland, despite the timing not being perfect. The big takeaway I had, Mike Gallagher, from your comments is not too many more minutes for Kamara.
Yeah.
All right, let's move to Memphis and the Clippers. Memphis side of things, second night of back-to-back here without John Morant yesterday. Marcus Smart hasn't played in a while, so on back-to-back notice with Marcus Smart on his availability, I'm guessing as well. Justin, what are you guys on the lookout here for Memphis tonight?
Yeah, we have Smart as a monitor as well. Just keep an eye on him in case he pops up. The jaw situation was a little bit interesting, and this is like illness season where we're just seeing players pop up with illness Q tags and missing games pretty often around this time of the year. And the reporting on Ja we got from Michael Wallace, it was pretty far in advance that he got ruled out. He didn't go through shoot around yesterday either. So this sounds pretty concerning to where, for me, generally my stance on illness is that they miss one game, they're going to come back the next game. I think he's actually probably like true 50-50 to play.
I would say less. With the way so many players have been like, look at Mitchell, look at John Collins. There's been so many cases of guys missing like weeks.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in full agreement there. I think it's very iffy that he plays tonight, and it wasn't just some like precautionary thing. He didn't go through shoot around. So we saw look at this box score. I mean, I think this is very representative of what you might see tonight against the Clippers on the road in the second leg of back-to-back without Ja. So the spread's at 7 right now, but I think I would be looking at some alts. On last Friday's show, I was talking about how Dallas could lay an egg shorthanded, and they lost by 1 million. I think Memphis might lay another egg tonight against the Clippers, who have generally been rolling. I think they can even take care of business in this one without Kawhi, too. I think that's a real problem for them either. So it would be a little cautious on not getting too excited about any of these Memphis guys, even if Ja misses. They're talking about like Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr. That's kind of my general take on the Grizzlies.
Quick question for you before I give my end. So if we get the injury report and Ja is ruled out, are you snap taking -7?
I am.
Kawhi questionable.
I am.
I am too. They're terrible. Back to back as well. God.
So I do. So I will take it, and we'll get in the Clippers too, but I'm assuming Kawhi's out too. I think there's going to be added value if it like moves even more to adjust for Kawhi being out. I don't think it really matters in this spot if Ja's out too, but I'll like double dip. I'll probably bet it again once it moves when Kawhi's ruled out.
They're so bad without him, and Dink, I'm mad at you, man. I said I really wanted to bet Denver yesterday because I thought they were going to crush Memphis. You talked me out of it. So I'm a Memphis hater.
I didn't know John Morant wasn't going to play.
I know that was part of it. But they would have still lost by a ton if they had Ja. Ja's not that good. But Vince Williams. Let me just shout out Vince Williams. His minutes would have been really, really strong. He lost to garbage. He was pacing for like 35, 36. Really, really strong third quarter minutes. Missed a lot of shots around the basket. Had a really not, they didn't give him a block for that. He had a nice block on Peyton Watson. But anyways, and I should mention Marcus Smart. Definitely keep an eye on the back-to-back for sure. 14 first half minutes yesterday. So I think he was trending for like 31, 32. I think he would have played more in the second half had the game been close. And then, as I mentioned, Jaren Jackson got pantsed by Peyton Watson. It was just really, really good game. And then Xavier Tillman coming back to life a little bit here. Keep an eye on that. Maybe he could finally unseat Biyombo here, who's been playing quite poorly. So it's just kind of keeping an eye on that.
They need to upgrade that center position somehow, though. That's like a clear weak spot for them. I mean, my goodness.
I mean, just start Vince at the 4 and play Jaren at the 5 at this point when they get everyone in there.
Anything that can bring back Jaren Jackson's blocks to fantasy life, because I'll tell you, my season-long teams are in desperate need of them. I drafted them for. I guess I didn't draft the Memphis scorekeeper alongside with it, but I needed both of them next year. Clippers side of things, Kawhi Leonard questionable with the left hip contusion, did not go through shoot around. Justin, what are your notes on Kawhi?
Yeah, I would be pretty surprised if he goes today. He was very limited in practice yesterday, did a little bit of stuff on the side, didn't go through shoot around, was getting treatment instead. So the comments from Lou recently weren't like super encouraging either on a potential imminent timetable on his return. I think they can easily take care of business tonight at home without him. So would expect him to miss another game and Amir Coffey to draw another start. And yeah, I mean, it's been pretty self-explanatory without Kawhi. It's the James Harden, Paul George show. So expect the same tonight.
Yeah, Paul George, Ham, he was kind of my runner-up for cover boy. I really like the spot for him with really poor perimeter shooting and pretty weak on-ball defense. A guy who lives on perimeter shooting. So really like him. Westbrook's minutes would also really benefit. So, yeah, those guys are in there. And, yeah, Lou was real short. I was watching his pressers, and those Kawhi answers were like one word or less. Definitely seems like the context. But it's Kawhi. Like, I don't know. This is kind of weird. Like, they're always like, oh, hopefully he plays. He's been saying, like, hopeful for a while. So he's got I think I may be a little bit more positive than you are. But
what would you say your percentage if you had to put that Kawhi would play today?
45. I think a little under half. Yeah. Sounds like you're like 35.
Yeah, I'm probably 35, 40. They're off until Monday. So I think they can just give them today off and get them right for Monday.
That's a good point. Yeah.
All right. The over cashes as we are beyond the hour mark on a 10-game slate. Once again, The over is always cash on this show.
Yeah.
As always, if you enjoy the content,
we're very pro public on this show, you know.
Yeah, very, very pro public overs on this show. As always, want to thank Justin Fan for his contributions to the show each and every Friday. If you are interested in supporting Justin's work, you can support it by playing on Underdog Fantasy, where they've got some of the coolest and most innovative fantasy contests in the space, whether it's in the pick'em space, whether it's these playoff contests that I cannot stop drafting right before I go to bed. I'm sure the Huberman Lab would be thrilled with my my before bed behavior of just drafting gauntlet teams over and over again. They've got everything you need from a daily fantasy sports perspective. You can follow them Underdog_fantasy on Twitter as well. Justin, any other notes for the Underdog peeps?
No, just these playoff formats are super addicting. Like you said, we have admin contests. I've just been maxing every single admin contest that they're throwing up there every day. So yeah, follow us on Underdog NBA, Underdog NFL, all our other sports. We're continuing putting out the best news out there. Yeah, appreciate the support.
Is there a playoff? Sam and I were talking. Is there an Underdog basketball playoff thing already? That's what Sam was telling me.
Yes, yeah, it has been released already. The first version, a little baby taste. If you want to start speculating on which teams will make the playoffs now, potentially, if you're a Warriors optimist with their softer schedule the rest of the way, now would be a decent time to get values on them potentially. But yeah, it's fun, man. These drafts are just so easy to do, and God, I cannot stop drafting the playoff basketball stuff. I just love because
how many are you? How deep are you now?
I'm like 40 deep on the gauntlet so far. I'll max the gauntlet for sure.
Nice.
It's just a matter of whether I get into some of these other contests as well. But just love it. Love all the stuff at Underdog. And I got shut out of the BBM finals, so this is my coping mechanism. It's just firing into the next thing that I can sweat.
I'm in on the Hound Dog. Actually, should shout out Mark Dankenbreg. He and I are in the final for the Hound Dog. It's a $10 underdog.
Nice.
He's in first. He's in first place. He had Jerome Ford,
Nice.
Breece Hall, and David Njoku last night. And he's got the Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, CeeDee Lamb stack going on. So Dank, man, he gets the 50K.
Dank, of course, with the Cleveland representation there, and Jerome Ford and Njoku, the GOAT.
Love to see it. I want Dank to get as rich as he's still willing to work with us. That's the amount of rich that I want Dank to get. As much as he's still willing to work with us, I hope he takes that home. All right. As always, if you enjoy the content that we're posting on this channel, please consider subscribing to this channel, get YouTube notifications whenever we go live. You may have noticed we've also been starting to populate our podcasts in video form on the channel as well. The last podcast that we did this week broke down that Mikal Bridges situation. I see some people in chat noting that I was savage to the gambling pros out there. Much deserved. They deserve that. Appreciate the support for everybody who did tune into that podcast and check it out. I think it's one of the more pertinent and poignant and also kind of evergreen podcasts that we can put out for a props kind of betting space and situation, walking you through how we handle things for our service and everything. So check that out. Also, if you're interested in checking out any of our premium content behind the paywall, this is the last few days of our holiday sale. So the last time to hop in at a 25% discount for our player props packages or our DFS packages. So check out establishedrun.com/subscribe-NBA for more details there. And of course, if you enjoy the content that we're putting out here, please do your best to feed that algorithm and help other people see it. The way to do that is to smash that like button. You smash the like button, it feeds the algorithm, which helps feed our families and allows us to feed you the NBA injury information analysis you need each and every day to make your DFS lineups, your season-long lineups, your spread bets, and your prop bets. So smash that like button. Nom, 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 nom. We'll see you next week. Take care, everybody.